There's a new documentary that has been released by Sundance Film Festival and has been premiered at the Sundance Film Festival on January 25th, 2019, which is called Leaving Neverland. And this film is about two individuals, one by the name of Wade Robson, the other by the name of Jimmy Safechuck, who allege they were sexually abused by the pop star Michael Jackson as children back in the 1980s. Now, I'm gonna give you the basic intro to this whole documentary. This is Wade Robson, I believe, and this is Jimmy Safechuck. And this, I believe, is Jimmy as a child with Michael Jackson. And they were fans, and Michael Jackson had befriended them back in the day. I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to give my take on all of this. But let me first give you the basic intro to this. So as you know what this documentary is about, describing how Jackson allegedly began relationships with two young fans, then aged 7 and 10, and their families. It features interviews with Safechuck and Robson and their mothers, wives, and siblings to paint a portrait of sustained abuse and explore the complicated feelings that the two men had to face. And this part that I'm going to read here, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I'm going to read one part of this, which has me completely skeptical. Because there are a lot of things that, if this story were true, I really honestly feel that... And let me just read it. So in 2011, Wade Robson approached the co-executor of the Michael Jackson estate for a job as a director on Michael Jackson The Immortal World Tour. Robson stated that he wanted the job badly, but the estate ultimately chose someone else for the job. Now, this is a man who has said that he has been molested by Michael Jackson as a kid, and he suffered all these problems, and he never wanted his child to go through the same thing that he did, and yet he's begging the estate of his rapist, of his assaulter, for a job, begging. He wanted the job badly, but the estate chose someone else. They're shooing him away. And this is in 2011. Keep in mind now that in 2012, the very next year, Robson had a nervous breakdown. He said his career, finances, and marriage began to crumble. That same year, Robson's began shopping a book deal that would claim he was sexually abused by Michael Jackson. So you listen now. Just last year, he was begging Michael Jackson's estate for a job. He wanted to get back into Michael Jackson's circle, though he was molested by him as a kid. He was going on. He wanted the job badly. Please give this to me. And they said no. And now we hear that next year, in 2012, his finances are bad. His marriage is crumbling. Everything is falling down. He's poor, broke, busted. Now he's trying to get a book deal that claimed he was sexually abused by Michael Jackson. No publisher would pick it up. They didn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. The publishers thought this was foolishness. Now, the year after that, in 2013, Robson filed a $1.5 billion civil lawsuit, or creditor's claim, along with James Safechuck under the same lawyer. Safechuck would claim he only realized he may have been abused when Robson filed his lawsuit. So he may have been abused, each alleging that Jackson had abused them in the late 1980s and early 90s. the lawsuits were dismissed in 2017. That was just 2 years, well, last year, 2 years ago. I mean, 2018, 2019, this barely happened. So you could say last year, 2017, that this lawsuit was dismissed. So this man tried to get a job from Jackson. Jackson said no. His finances are going in the toilet. His marriage is crumbling. Everything is crumbling. He needs money. It just so happens that he decides to write a book saying that Jackson abused him. Nobody said, they say no. They say absolutely not, we don't want this. Publishers say no. So then he decides to file a $1.5 billion civil lawsuit. The judge says no. And now the year after that, we see this documentary being made. Folks, do you see why I am skeptical? Now, I am not one of those Michael Jackson fanatics who would jump in front of traffic and cry if he were to I'm not one of those people. I think he makes good music. I respect his family. Billie Jean was a great song. I have it on my iPhone. The Thriller, all that's a beautiful music. I mean, yes, it's good music. I do think Michael Jackson made very poor choices when he was alive, especially with his children, covering them up in, Arab-looking stuff, trying to cover up their face and all that kind of stuff. I mean, he made poor choices, but let me tell you something. There is accusations, and then there's just damn common sense. And speaking of these Michael Jackson allegations, let me just say this. When these things were coming out back in 2003 and all that stuff, I always said, why are the parents settling? I'm going to tell you something. And I think that any good-meaning parent would agree with me. If your child was abused by someone, I don't care who it is. If your child was sexually abused, I don't care if you give me $1 billion. I don't care if you give me $1 trillion. I will not rest until you are either in jail or your neck is chopped off or something. I won't rest until you are in jail or you are dead or you're in some basement being tortured. There is no dollar amount that will stop me from getting justice for my child if he was or she was sexually abused. None. Absolutely none. So there in and of itself makes me wonder, is this just for money? Because I don't think any well-meaning parent would take money and say, everything is fine now. Yeah, you sexually abused my kid, but I got the money now, so it's fine. And now back to these two individuals who have made this film where, by the way, the police and everybody have to guard the Sundance Film Festival, which aired on the 25th of January because they're afraid someone's going to bomb the place because people are angry out there. I'm angry. I'm not saying that he may have not done it or did do it. Maybe he did do it. I don't know. I do think that he had people in his bed. I'm not saying that he sexualized them, but, he talked about, sharing bed with children. And I think that's reckless on Jackson's part. That's reckless. Having strangers' children in your bed. Of course they're going to ask for trouble because there are greedy people out there. Very greedy people out there who don't want to work and who are willing to take any opportunity to take your money. And that was a reckless and stupid decision on Jackson's part to have strange children in his bed. Not saying anything happened, but it's a reckless decision. However, I don't care how, how when these women come out, whether it's with Colin Kaepernick and all this, I work, or Anita Hill with Clarence Thomas, I worked with him and all this stuff, even though he did this and that and the third. You're never going to convince me of that. And it goes even worse with these two boys. Because this guy wasn't working for Michael Jackson up until he was a child. And now he goes back to the Jackson estate begging for a job. You said you were sexually abused. And not only that, but this individual testified on Michael Jackson's behalf on several occasions, in life and in death. Safechuck and what's the other guy's name? What's the other guy? Let me go. Wade Robson and Jimmy Safechuck. They all testified on Michael Jackson's behalf when he was alive. They went on. Robson went on Jimmy Kimmel and said, "No, nothing happened." He testified under oath, nothing happened. He was on record saying nothing happened. And then he's going to go try and get a job from Michael Jackson. And when Michael Jackson's estate turned him down, then all this stuff comes out. When we hear that he's poor, broke, busted, Michael Jackson's turned him down, and now he's trying to get money. I'm not saying that maybe he was in Michael Jackson's bed as a kid. Because as I said, Michael Jackson's on record saying, the most loving thing to do is to share your bed. The most loving thing to do is to share your bed. It's a sign of love. That's what he said. And I mean, that's a reckless thing to do, especially in your position. You're rich and everything, and there are all these jackals out there. But you cannot convince me that something happened when you were denying everything on Jimmy Kimmel in court. You were begging for a job from his estate, and then they turn you down, and you're poor, and you're trying to get, and all this other stuff. No. So I think that this documentary is a load of bull. I can understand why they need a lot of security at their film festival showing this bull. And shame on the media for giving these people airtime when they are filled with such a lack of credibility. HBO is trying to share up this documentary. We see HBO is suffering financially, so they're trying to find a way to regain their viewership. It's a shame. But, it looks like the population of the world sees what's going on. I mean, when you go on YouTube videos talking about this documentary, there's just a ton of dislikes because people are onto this. Looks like just a bunch of greedy individuals who are trying to regain some profit. And they're using Michael Jackson to do it. I mean, the guy is dead. I mean, he's dead. That's just the bottom line. The man is dead. His body has probably completely been eaten by worms by now. I mean, even if he did sexually assault you or whatever, you're a bit too late. But I really think that these guys are not credible. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but the evidence really is not in their favor. It really isn't. This is the Arana Nation.